Yes, thank you so much for staying with us on Frontline this morning. Now let's move on to the interview segment where we'll be talking about a very important topic that has to do with our health as human and even animal around us, from the meat that we eat when we buy meat from the market, or the pets around us and the pets that we keep at home, even in the market that we visit. Animals plays a very, so we share hundreds of diseases with animals, and they have vectors for many diseases that assail humans, but at the same time they are also essential for many treatments and also cure. So in Nigeria, diseases like rabies, bird flu, Lassa fever have shown that when animals are not healthy, humans are also at risk. Oguleye is a professor of veterinary microbiology from the University of Ibadan. So we have our guest in the studio this morning to help us understand animal health and human safety. And quickly hit the ground running by talking about the basics so that people can have an understanding of what the connection between animal health and human health is and why they need to know.
Okay, important one. And as a matter of fact, that is the wisdom behind the current trend of approach to handling health in the whole world interconnectedness of animal health, human health, and the environment. And that is the reason why in handling health nowadays, it calls for collaborative effort across discipline, across sector, and in different regions, in order to be able to maximize every effort at all these key sectors, animal, human, and environment, to achieving the best health outcome. So when we talk about this matter, we go into the matter of diseases that are transmitted between animal and human. You must have heard about the word zoonosis. There are a lot of diseases, parasitic disease to fungal disease and to viral disease. So when you talk about human health, it is tightly connected with animal health and the environment. And so we have a lot to learn, and we have a lot of precaution to take when we talk about human health in connection with both animal and the environment.
All right, those we buy pork, we buy beef from the market without we knowing the diseases that we might contract from.
You know, during my initial explanation, I said that there are bacterial disease. Now, from bacterial disease, you must have had like leptospirosis. This is caused by a bacterial organism called Leptospira. Brucellosis. This is caused by Brucella organism. We have a Lyme fever, Lyme disease, that is caused by a bacterial organism called Borrelia burgdorferi. Rabies is one of them. As a matter of fact, rabies kills faster than HIV.
Really?
Within a short time, I mean, we are not going into detail of that. Within a short time, if the nature is not done, the person that is affected is gone. Not only rabies, we've heard about Lassa fever, the New World screwworm, you must have heard about that. We have which other one? Toxoplasmosis. A number of them, they are banned. So we have them all around us.
Weeks ago, we have a report of Lassa fever that claimed life in some parts of the country, and this is not the first time when we've been having such news of Lassa fever. And it's bringing us back to the question of why do we have recurrence of diseases like other parts of the country, or is this something that is general?
Thank you very much. You know, between human and animal, Lassa fever is a viral disease, and the transmission, you know, before disease can get to human being, there are processes and there are mode of transmission. This particular one is transmitted by rodents. When you get to an average home nowadays, rats are co-tenants in the house. Yes, you get to some living room in the broad daylight, you see them running here and there. A number of these, they carry some infectious agent that not necessarily, they may not necessarily affect the animal, but they serve as means of transmission to human. So, for example, like the Lassa fever you are talking about, they are transmitted through us to get in connection with the urine of this rat, the heat our food, and the rest of them. So, the diseases are there, the agents are there. Sometimes zoonotic disease, you get them from your improper handling of your food. Maybe we are loaded, the environment is loaded with pathogen ranging from bacteria to parasite to viral agent. Now, when the right connection and when the right means of transmission is achieved, then disease gets transmitted. So the key thing we need to keep on emphasizing is that to handle disease, you cannot treat any of the sector in isolation. The way you handle animal will determine how healthy human being will be, because of the interconnection, because some of these disease agents are actually shared between human, animal, and environment. Wisdom in one health approach.
All right, let's talk about some of the myths that we see vendors display in markets. Anytime I visit, it just brings me back to our exposure to diseases that can come from the way these vendors expose whether beef, pork, or fish, or any type of animal that people consume. So what do you think should be the measures that people, government, or let me say stakeholders in general, should put in place to ensure the safety of this food in the market?
Okay, thank you very much. I will address it generally and I will address it specifically. You know, when you talk about prevention, the preventive measure, some of them are simple, but they are basic. Starting from the rule of hygiene. Hygiene is key in handling our food. Let me address the food specifically. Ranging from, I'm talking about the value chain now, from the kind of animal that you slaughter. For example, in our abattoir, there are government agents, officials, veterinary officers that are there to ensure that the meat inspection and they do post-mortem meat inspection. The whole essence of this is to be sure that the meat you are selling, you are taking to the table, they are safe for human consumption. Any attempt for anybody, for whatsoever reason, to compromise that is a disservice to humanity. Is a disservice to the nation. And you can never tell, maybe you yourself will be the victim. Let me give you an example. Whether an animal that they want to slaughter has disease like tuberculosis, so that it won't get to the public. If, for example, somebody compromise that, who knows it? Then when it comes to the way you handle it at the market, at the slaughter place, the way you transport them, that's a very serious problem in our society here. You see them just drop the meat inside one bus like that, and then they transport it from the point of slaughter to the table. A lot of contamination may happen along that. So we need to think critically on how to do that. Now, not only that, at the point of cooking at home, one of the preventive measures is that, please, is vitally important. I don't know whether English will allow that. It's vitally important that you take responsibility on how you cook your food. You should avoid undercooked meat, food, or eating raw meat. In fact, it's not part of our own culture here, but some people still do that. You need to cook them thoroughly. But I must say that for the mere fact that you cook thoroughly, it's not a guarantee that 100% you are safe, because it depends on the kind of organism. Depending on the biology of the organism we are talking about, other things may be. But precautionary measure in terms of hygiene will be very important. And also to touch on, because It's often said that prevention is cheaper and better than cure. So one of the ways, if you have pet at home, you raise cats, and a lot in recent time, a lot of households are keeping cats more than ever in Nigeria. Then you are raising dog at home, you keep them at home. It's important, it's your responsibility, service to yourself and to other neighbors, to make sure that you vaccinate your animal. Maybe I should stop on that for now.
Okay, no, because I also want us to touch down on some simple signs that Nigerians, or let me say everybody, should look out for when you are buying animal products in market, to know whether it is healthy or unhealthy, contaminated or not contaminated. Because oftentimes you take a lot of animal products at home, and at the end,
let's unpack it. Okay. Are you talking about
like this
food product, or you are talking about animal? Let me take it in two ways. For example, if you are keeping pets at home, and you will know the difference. You are, of course, vets are trained to know when the animal is sick. But you as the owner too, one way or the other, if your animal is sick, there are things you can see that will help you. And then, for example, your animal that either has been so active before, is withdrawing from food, is coughing, is not veterinary service as early as possible. Now coming back to the issue of food product, take for example, let me give a scenario. In Ibadan here, we know that they slaughter cattle on Sunday evening, and you saw somebody selling meat. Common sense should tell you that this meat is not a fresh meat, and that person has some explanation to give to you. You are responsible for what you take in, because you are what you eat, and a lot of discretion has to come in this matter. Now, when you see people who are trained, you know, our interaction cannot make an expert out of our viewer in a day. But there are some common sensical things. Something should tell you that this thing is not fresh. You can make use of your senses that God has given you, sense of smell. I give you an example. There was one day, I was driving from University of Ibadan to where I live, and somebody waved me along the line who is going to the same type of, the same community, who is living in the same community with me. Of course, any goodness you can do for people nowadays you do. So I stopped. I wanted to carry him. He was holding something in his hand. As soon as he entered the car, the whole place was smelling. I think himself felt embarrassed. He said, please drop me. He said, this meat, you know, I didn't ask him anything. He began to explain to me about the meat. Now, do you need any and trouble? So I'm saying that we must be responsible and we must be realistic. Now, there are some basic things when you see that, look, this looks spoiled yourself. Don't do that. Don't let me even go to meat, even vegetable at home. I mean, vegetable that we bought there. People talk about Esa because it's cheaper. Yeah. Now, if you buy spoiled product under the name of being cheap, you will spend, you will get more than what you bargain for, because what you will spend on treating yourself will be more than the money you have saved in the person. Then where is the wisdom?
Thank you so much, sir. Now we know we are talking about One Health, talking about the relationship between animal health, human health, and our environment. And now I want us to talk about, to also unbundle what flooding or how flooding or climate change also brings about animal health, animal-related diseases. Okay. So is there any connection between those two?
Very well, very well. Now, you are going to the environment now.
Okay, yeah.
And you know, when you talk about One Health, you cannot, don't forget, animal and human being will live in an environment. Viral organism, fungi organism, they are all shared amidst these three sectors. So whether useful or not useful. So for example, if flood will carry sewage, it can carry sewage, and then it will definitely affect them. So there is a serious connection between this.
And the climate change, it seems that in some parts of this country, we are so nonchalant about vaccination for our pets or animals around us. So what dangers does this pose to the animal and the society at large?
Serious one, serious danger. In many states, there are laws that mandate you, if you deem it fit to own a pet, you have the responsibility under law to vaccinate, so that you won't endanger your own life, the life of the member of your household, as well as the the people in the neighborhood. So it's a thing that must be taken seriously by whosoever desire to own a pet. So vaccination, by vaccinating your animal, you are preventing the disease, and then you are breaking the possibility of that disease being transmitted to other people. For example, like rabies, of responsibility on your own part to make sure that you vaccinate, so that you don't endanger the life of people all around you. If this is in your house, before you handle it, it's good that you use your protective glove, and then you also handling of food. I've mentioned it earlier on. Make sure you cook your food properly, at least to take care of what could be taken care of. The issue of vaccination, for any reason you discover that your animal is sick, as much as possible, try to avoid handling it. Prevent the spread of the disease. I don't know what I've touched what you...
Yeah. So I think most of the things that people family, whether they are trained, maybe they just know little about it, and they venture into it. It might not be for commercial purpose. We have people that are raising chickens, some have a mini fish pond
in their backyard,
and all of that. So what are the little information or some kind of orientation they should around them?
Anyway, in life, it's not a good thing for you to venture into something that you are not well informed about. We need education about everything. Part of what we have been saying becomes key, that all of us who heard about avian influenza, that is one that can come from poultry, and it's also zoonotic. So they must be aware of the fact that even though you are doing something good, if you mismanage it, and if you are careless with one thing or the other, it can lead to healing whenever there is a need for such.
Okay.
And the rule of hygiene become very important there also.
Right, so let's talk about risk. Animals are healthy for consumption and as to not to affect human health negatively. So while we are talking about that, I also want us to touch down on the role of the academics in all of this. Do we have much research, and what is the contribution of the educational sector in this as well?
Part of the contribution of educational sector is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
For me, I am a bacteriologist. I'm a that have to do with drug resistance, pathogen, and a whole lot of things. Part of the role connection between the TAN and GAN. TAN is society, GAN
the academic.
the academy. And such a program like this gives opportunity to enlighten the public on some of our findings. A lot of things are going on. High premium on dissemination of this information. You will be aware that every year, around November, that is part of what kickstarts our convocation program. We use research fair. That of last year was done in November. Usually is a norm of research work that are going on within the academia and the possible application within the society. A lot along that line, and there are plans. We are not playing about the issue of connection of the TAN to this. We are talking about policy. Of course, part of what a responsible government does is to bring every human being needs some measure of push because of God.
Yeah.
But they are doing things right because they know that if you part of the responsibility to do what is right and touching it. And I must tell you that we have some laws. You know, I told you earlier that in place of repercussion, what is the word they use in law now? There are punishments if you violate them. So we have, I think, one other strictly enforced. Every human being
Be Oladele the topic this morning, animal health, how intertwined the animal and animal, make sure that for the safety of person